Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Taylor and I am a digital budgeter. So I do have my iPad with me today and I'm a little bit late to the game chronicling my debt-free journey online, but I've really gotten into this community and I wanted to share the way that I have been working on my debt and the way that I do my budgeting through digital means. I watch a lot of cash stuffers, but that just would not work for my lifestyle and the way that I do my spending. So over the last couple years, I've gotten really good at digital budgeting, and that has really helped me not have to go the route of cash stuffing. So for this first video on my channel, I did want to go over my debt confessions. So to give some context, I am 40 years old. I live in the state of Florida and I do work in healthcare. There is another aspect of my healthcare job that I'll discuss once I get into my actual debts so we can look over. I don't have a whole lot of debts, and again, I'll explain as I show my graphic that I ended up making so that you guys can see what I am starting with. But when I pulled my numbers, I was a little bit shocked. I knew what my numbers are because over the past year I've been very, very conscious about my spending, but when I added everything together and saw that I am $115,000 in debt, that was shocking. But again, we'll get into that and I'll be able to explain a little bit further about what that debt is once I end up pulling everything up on my digital tracker. I have my cup of coffee with me and a lovely scented candle, but let me go ahead and open this up. So here is my graphic and my planner for my debt payoff. This is going to show my payments that I have made from the beginning of the year, or if it's a credit card, if my balance has gone up on that particular debt. So let's start at the very top, and I do have a personal loan, and that personal loan at the beginning of the year, the balance was $9,793.50. Since the beginning of the year, and this does include March's payment, I was able to pay a total of $1,349.57. And then my new balance after my March payment is the $8,443.93. I do have a second personal loan, and of course that balance is a lot bigger, and I'll go a little bit more into detail afterwards about where this debt came from. So at the beginning of the year, it had a balance just over $27,000. I've been able to pay $1351.64 on it, and the current balance right now is $25,699.43. I do have a Discover card. At the beginning of the year, I had a total balance on there of $1,081.71. This is my only debt that has gone up, and that is because I did purchase myself a new laptop. And again, I'll explain with this Discover card what I'm doing with that, but my balance did go up by $2,000. Right now, the balance is $3,139.34. I have a credit card through my credit union. I've had this credit card since I was about 21 years old, so I have a long-standing history with this line of credit here. But at the beginning of the year, I did have $2,674.97. I have been putting some items onto this credit card, so I've made more than $550 worth of payments, but that is just the amount that the debt has gone down, and that leaves our balance right now as $2,122.88. So here's the biggest one, my student loan. So I do have at the beginning of the year, and again, the payments just restarted in, what was it, October or November. So I only had a few additional payments under my belt, but my total student loan balance at the beginning of the year was $76,963.86. And this is the one that hurts the most because I've made 3 payments on this loan and it's only gone down by $422 because of all the interest on this student loan. But right now I am at $76,541.74 balance for my student loan. So if we look at all of my balances, at the beginning of the year I had $117,565.11 as my total debt. and right now I have $115,947.32. So if I look at this tracker down at the bottom, my beginning was the $117,000. I've made total payments. I added this up last night because I was curious. So this is all of the money in the past 3 months that I have dumped into this debt. I've paid $3,753.29 into my debt. My debt reduction is only $1,600. Mainly that can be because I did buy a laptop and so my balance went up, but also paying all of the interest that was accruing on my student loan. So that leaves us with the new balance over here. So while I am looking at this, maybe I'll start with the student loan debt first, because as I go on with my channel, I'm not going to be touching much on my student loan debt. So again, I do work in the medical field and I have a master's degree. I had to have my master's degree to be able to do this line of work. With this line of work, also with the schooling, I did have to do 3 unpaid internships during my bachelor's and master's degree programs. During those unpaid internships, you are paying tuition plus working for free. So that ends up where basically if you have not been able to save up enough to survive the semester plus pay, I think in my bachelor's degree and in my master's degree, it was anywhere from paying for 9 to 12 credit hours of tuition to the school while also working for free and not being able to hold down another job because you are working 40 plus hours a week at an internship for free. Again, there's no income, plus you're paying the 12 credit hours for the internship, plus you're taking an additional 2 classes to be able to finish up your degree. So there is a lot of time constraints and money constraints with this degree, but I mean, I don't regret it. I wouldn't go back and do it any differently. Now, some of this student loan debt also, I was young and dumb and took out student loans and took out more money than I needed to. And so I am accountable for that. But a large majority of this was getting through my bachelor's, my master's, also living off of student loans while I was in my internships, because there were 3 of them over the course of 4 years while I was completing my degree. So definitely the student loan debt racked up quite a bit. So the other side of my student loan debt and why I will not be snowballing it, why I will not be dumping anything extra into it, is that I have been lucky enough to hold a job in a government agency. A few years ago, I did apply for the federal employee, and again, I'll have to look up exactly what it's called, but there is a forgiveness program for federal employees. You have to be able to work for a accredited federal agency and you do 10 years of employment plus 10 years of payments, and anything left over on your student loans will be forgiven because of your 10 years of service with the federal agency. So I have worked at a government agency since 2019, and all of the time that the payments were suspended during COVID do count towards eligible payments. So even though during the time through COVID, I was not making my full payments or I was choosing not to make payments at all, those particular months, those payments do count for the 120 payments that I'm required to pay as a federal employee before forgiveness can happen. So by my count, my loans will be forgiven in 2029, which again seems like a very far distance off, but it would take me a lot longer to pay these loans down to completion myself. And I have made the decision that I am comfortable making the minimum payment that is required and then allowing the rest to be forgiven. So I may yearly or even twice a year touch back in on this channel about where my student loan debt is, but I am not actively trying to pay that down apart from making my minimum monthly payments. I think my next video will be budgeting my paycheck in March, and so you guys will be able to see exactly what my payment is on this student loan. But the other ones, so my personal loans, The top one here was debt consolidation plus an emergency vet bill for one of our dogs. And I will say our, so I am married. My husband also works full time, but we do keep our finances separate. And that I know is something that within the realm of like Dave Ramsey and like debt payoff, usually they tell people you are a married couple, your finances are together, my debt becomes your debt, all of that. That is not what my husband and I agreed to when we talked about our finances before we got married. And so this is the way that we do it. Again, when we look at my budget, we will see that there's certain things that he pays for and I pay for within our household, and that does help it feel more quote unquote fair. We also do have common goal items that we do both put in for so that we can get them done. But this first one here, we did have a medical emergency with one of our dogs a couple years ago that rang in just under $8,000. So definitely the importance of pet insurance is there, and I was very thankful that we had enough money to at least save our dog's life in the moment. But some of it I did go ahead and take it off of a credit card and consolidate it into a loan with some other things that I was paying off. This big one down here, and again, I want to stress that this is not the norm. This is not what I would recommend anybody do with their finances. This is just what has been working for me, and I have developed a plan to go ahead and pay a lot of this off in the next couple years. But the big consolidation was me paying off another personal loan and then also paying off a Chase credit card that had about $12,000 on it. So again, I have proven to myself that I am not good with finances, but I really buckled down about a year and a half ago and really got serious about paying these things off. And so I definitely do have a plan, and I guess to spoil some of it, by the end of this year, I do want to have personal loan number 1 paid off. I need to have the Discover card paid off by November because it is currently in a 0% interest, and I need to have that paid off by November. And then I would like to pay off the majority of the credit union credit card by November. I'm going to be using the credit union credit card as something revolving where like subscriptions come into, certain things come into. Sometimes I like to purchase items online with the credit card versus my debit card. So if anything ever happens like fraud, then the person has my credit card information and not direct access to my bank account. So the credit union card is the one that I do want to use as kind of like a revolving line, but definitely I do need to get that balance down. And the student loans, I'm just going to be chipping away at them until 2029 when the rest of the balance is forgiven. So I don't want to go too far into the weeds as far as why this debt piled up, but between not being able to work during internships and so credit card debt piled up. My husband was out of work for a little while, so credit card debt piled up. Once I got out of school, the first job that I got was about the same salary as somebody flipping burgers with a master's degree. So debt piled up, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And I think debt can snowball up, and then I'm trying to snowball it back down. So I don't think I'm doing traditional snowball method, but I will definitely tell you guys my plan to pay off this debt. I think I will have that in a separate video just to show you guys how I am planning to pay off the $8,000 of the personal loan, the $3,000 of the Discover card, and also the $2,000 of my credit union credit card. Those are the ones that I'm focusing on. This will be in my budgeting video. I'm focusing on the amount of interest that I'm losing every month through paying these debts because that definitely brings into focus the fact that I am paying somebody else money to be in debt. And I'd rather have that money in my own pocket, in my own high yield, and going towards things that matter to me. But this is my debt confession that I am starting with. So our starting at the beginning of the year was the 117. I'm currently at 115. So this is where we are going to be starting at the beginning. I hope that you guys will stick around to see how I do my digital budgeting, how I am keeping track of my payoff plan. And if you want to see me aggressively tackle these debts over the next year, then make sure to subscribe and stick around. I want to try to upload videos weekly as far as updates and budgeting my paychecks. And so you guys are going to want to see how I have my first paycheck of March budgeted as well. So make sure to subscribe, hit a like on this video. It really will help me out. And I hope that you guys will join me for my debt payoff journey. Thank you so much for the support and for watching. And I'm going to go ahead and film my next one, which will be my budgeting video and my payoff plan. So be on the lookout for that one. Bye.